Yeah, dude, you gotta kick that guy griefing. What a wanker. I'm just keep ramming this guy, I don't care. That's so funny. He's just hitting people. Do I have another car I control him in? I really don't have a bigger car. I mean, I have this car. This could probably fuck with him. Dude, how am I doing this? I'm like actually so good, so good. Where is this fucking guy? That's not him. Damn, where is he? I don't see him anymore. Watch him at the start. It's actually so crazy because I know where to drive and where they're gonna drift or not. Actually, fucking hilarious. Who's following me? Oh my god, it's this guy. Why? What the hell? Why is he following me, bro? Why is he fucking following me? Oh my god, that was kind of scary. Oh my god. Where is this motherfucker, bro? No, people leave this lobby, man. I'm just gonna fucking go back to lobby. Oh, I'm getting jiggy with it. Can this even drift? Oh, I have to be in like more power. Dude, that was actually so scary. I came behind me. Yo. I can't spectate people in this line. That's one thing I don't like. Yeah, see, people are leaving. That's good. Look at this loser ass nigga. What a fucking loser, bro. Yeah, I need to change my tone. Lumberjack. Actual fucking losers, bro, that do this shit. Yeah, get shit on, bitch. Get shit on. I'm gonna make you fucking keep pressing circle. I'm gonna make you keep going invisible because you suck. can't drive this piece of shit, dude. I need to at least tune it, bro, after this, dude, after using it for this purpose. This guy's stupid. He just wanted to go this way. I don't know what the fuck is going on. Actual fucking loser ass nigga. Set a timer for 20 minutes to get ready for meeting at 2:30. Oh my god. Can be exposed for this. Would it piss him off if I just kept drifting? Probably. I don't know. I'll just make it. I don't wanna.
Alright. I guess we're gonna try to be salesmen. Yeah, you know how like they do what's it called? Like Girl Scout cookies? Yeah. But we sell
Oh, we're supposed to go to Case. Wait, I just understand that's what we're supposed to do. What? So we need the phone. Oh, we're supposed to go to Case. Wait, I just understand
Oh,
that's what
we're
we're.
supposed to.
Oh, we're supposed to go to Case. Wait, I just understand that's what we're supposed to do. What? So we need the phone. Oh, we're supposed to go to Case. Wait, I just understand that's what we're supposed to do.
Wait, who's done? Wait, say that again? Say it again, say it again, say it again. Say it again. Wait, no, say it again, say it again. Unfairly fired? It's more than Wow. You just taught me something new. I didn't even know I could get up here. But I saw you do it. Yeah, I'm single too.
That was literally your first try.
That was my first try. I saw you do it, and I'm single.
Are you joking?
No. I saw you do it, and I was like, oh, that's how you do it, and I'm also single too.
I got the single part. I got it.
Oh, cool. And you're not married or anything, right?
No. I mean, I'm 18. So I
Oh,
have my whole
cool.
life ahead
Yeah.
of me.
Legal. Perfect.
No, my fucking god. Oh no. Oh
Just tell me something new. I didn't even know I
no.
could get up here.
Oh
But I saw you do
no.
it. Yeah, I'm single too.
That was literally your first try.
That was my first try. I saw you do it, and I'm single.
I'll take this.
December 10th. It's shock season in Australia. Like and subscribe. Join the Discord, the Minecraft server, and like and subscribe. Join the Discord, the Minecraft server, and the Patreon. Now let's die. Cellmate will stop them from doing it. And Epstein was in fact moved to the closest cell to the guards. We saw how much that helped. But Epstein was also given a very lackluster cellmate, the kind of dude that most would be afraid of. In fact, rather than getting a less violent or non-violent offender, Epstein got probably the most violent offender in there at that time, at least in his unit. His name was Nicholas Tartaglione, a former cop who murdered 4 people, and this man was Epstein's cellmate before and after being in Suicide Watch. And it's critical to know this because Epstein didn't allegedly try taking his own life once, but twice, according to most resources. But I'll tell you why this is crap. On July 23rd, so they strip a bed sheet around his neck. Sounds familiar. Now, this Tartaglione fellow is no joke. He's built like a fortress, a massive man. But an important connection to make is that one of the murders he conducted was on a woman in which he strangled her. And Epstein was found with a bed sheet tied around his neck within feet of a man who literally strangles people to death. Indeed, if this weren't Epstein and he weren't in prison, it's pretty clear that Tartaglione would be on trial right now for another attempted murder. But the skeptic out there will be willing to take the headlines at face value and assume these are just coincidences. And to the skeptic, I say the following. Epstein told lawyers that his cellmate, Nicholas Tartaglione, had roughed him up after being sent to Suicide Watch. And in addition to that, Epstein would make a very interesting remark to his lawyers and several other people working in prison. That being that he was a coward, would never try to take his own life, and he was afraid of pain. So therefore, why on earth do we have the mainstream narrative that it was Epstein trying to take his own life, reason number 5 that Epstein did not kill himself, goes along with the above, in the sense that there are dozens of things I could point out, and this video will be an hour plus long. So to save time and get to the juicier bits later on, I'm just going to rapid fire a few factoids at you. Number 1, on July 16th, Epstein made an unmonitored and illegal phone call from prison, presumably on an employee's phone he got permission from. Worth noting, this employee broke every single code, and yet he was never prosecuted. The phone call, despite being made in a prison with dozens of cameras watching and recording audio, has never been released. Maybe the cameras weren't working that day either. And to this day, over 6 years later, we still are not told who was on the other end of the line. Epstein eventually hung up the phone after a stern, many minutes long conversation and gave the phone back to the employee. Now, who on earth could Epstein have possibly said he was calling? Well, his mommy, of course. And apparently the guard was never given a basic facts file on Epstein, because had he been, he would have known that Epstein's mother had been dead since 2004, a full 15 years prior to this phone call. Meaning who Epstein made the call to is still completely unknown, but it definitely wasn't his mom. Another interesting fact is that Epstein reported bizarre happenings in his cell prior to his demise, including stop flushing and the inability to sleep. He would cover his ears and shut his eyes and curl up in a ball to try and get any shut-eye. And yet, despite this, he maintained upwards of 12-hour meetings with his lawyers on a daily basis. In addition to this, another interesting report that refutes these Epstein's suicide theory is that Epstein had recently purchased a radio for AM/FM transmission and a set of headphones from the prison, which several prison officials went on record as saying they believed was Epstein getting used to the idea that he was going to be here for a while. And finally, the Manhattan Metropolitan Correctional Facility where Epstein was housed was known for a major problem, that being that inmates were being delivered supplies via drone, meaning machines and possibly people could easily have gotten into Epstein without anyone noticing, as it's happened before. Now that is a fact that they don't want you to know. That all being said, let's fast forward to reason 6. It's 6:33 a.m. on August 10th, and Epstein has yet to report to the guard and come for breakfast. So the guards, Michael and Tova, finally go in to check on Epstein, only to find him in a kneeling position, with his legs just shy of touching the floor, being held up by a set of bed sheets tied to the top bar of his bunk bed. At this juncture, it doesn't take Sherlock Holmes to surmise that Epstein is obviously long dead. And it's not like these were new guards. They were well aware that they hadn't checked in on him in many hours, and that there was no chance to revive Epstein. Therefore, the expectation at this point would be to immediately get doctors and medical examiners here and ensure that absolutely nothing can disrupt the crime scene and that no one tampers with the evidence. But the guards don't do this. According to his testimony, Michael Thomas bursts into the 86.4 square foot cell and cuts Epstein down from where he is held aloft. He then proceeds to attempt resuscitating the lifeless husk, shouting, "Breathe, Epstein, breathe," followed up with, "We're going to be in so much trouble." Certainly Thomas was correct. He should have been in so much trouble. And it's worth noting, this body is so dead at this point, he has the same chance of breathing life into it as he does my stuffed horse. And based on Michael Thomas's words, and own account, he was well aware of that. He was just doing this to cover his butt. The two prison guards then proceed to use a defibrillator on Epstein, all while continuing to disturb the crime scene. Completely destroyed all available evidence in the cell. If there were any other DNA present at one point in this room, it certainly isn't there any longer. Everything in the cell is manhandled, covered in their DNA, and thrown around. Even Epstein's mattress ends up on the floor, which makes zero sense. At this juncture, it's surpassed the point where stupidity is no longer an acceptable excuse. These two were not only derelict in their duties, they then entered a crime scene and destroyed all of the evidence. Eventually, the medical professionals on site got wind of what happened to Epstein and come to remove the body and photograph the evidence. Once again, breaking protocol though, because they should have left the body in the cell and then taken photos as the scene stood, which to my knowledge, and based on all the photos online that I could find, did not happen. They removed his body and then took photos of what was left inside. So now we're left with a completely unusable crime scene, two further guilty guards, and questionable medical examiners who didn't even take the right kind of photos. Which leads us into reason number 7 why Epstein did not kill himself. After the crime scene was destroyed, photos were taken, but barely a handful it looks like. I would imagine you'd be taking hundreds, maybe even thousands of photographs at this point, just to make sure that you cover all of your bases, where to your knowledge, Earth's most depraved criminal just hanged himself. But they don't do this. Instead, we get these out of focus, strangely angled photos showing us seemingly intentionally, in my opinion, absolutely nothing of value. I went to dinner with my family a couple days ago, and I took better and more accurate photographs of what I ate than what they did of Epstein's crime scene. But unintentionally, this photographer caught something he probably wasn't supposed to. The discerning eye, upon a second glance, will notice some pretty groundbreaking piece of evidence that even Tova and Michael Thomas couldn't have missed. First is the alleged noose, which was made either from bed sheets or bits of clothing. The facts are a bit murky there. In either case, the material given to the prisoners for clothing and sheets is designed in a manner to prevent just this Epstein situation from happening. Also, as far as I can tell online, the color of uniform for the Manhattan Metropolitan Correctional Center is blue, not orange. At least that's what all the MCC prisoners I could find online were depicted as wearing, but hey, I mean, that's just a bit odd to me. But it could be that they changed uniform colors by the time Epstein got there. I think that's doubtful, but I'll grant the skeptic the benefit of the doubt there. What, however, is even stranger is that if we refer to Michael Thomas's own testimony, when he states that he had noticed Epstein dangling from the top of his bed, and so he runs in, pulls out a blade, and cuts Epstein down. But wait a minute there, buddy. There is not a single sign of this fabric having been cut with a knife. Moreover, the end of the material is hemmed, meaning that most certainly it was never cut. So therefore, ladies and gentlemen, it is certainly not the noose that Epstein used on himself, most obviously because Epstein denied himself. Reason number 8, Epstein denied himself. I'm going to advocate for the other side here. If I were to lobotomize myself right this second and believe that Epstein, the man who asked me to discuss the Zorro Ranch video, was obsessed with living forever, to the point of having laboratories and female egg farms under his home, actually killed himself, then there are even more questions that we must answer. For instance, why, oh why, would he choose the most impossible method for taking his own life? A method that would only cause him pain, not death, and would likely get him thrown in the nude at watch chamber. And once again, this is the guy who made a point of telling everyone around him that he was a coward who hated pain. The answer is simply that he wouldn't. He would never take the slowest, most painful, and most unlikely way of taking his life. Instead, he would choose a much more guaranteed method for ending his life. Something sturdy and reliable, built Ford tough, my bad. Not an ad read right now. You know, like a large swath of thick plastic tubing, or, if I had my pick of the litter, I might choose a strong, black, unbreakable pallet. Now, obviously, Epstein didn't have his pick of the litter and couldn't have chosen either of these, so why are you telling me this, Cooper? Well, because Epstein actually could have chosen either of these things instead of the bed sheets. And that's because Epstein had sleep apnea. What a weird diversion, Cooper. I know. Why do I care? Just trust me here. I have a thing. My father also has sleep apnea, and with it comes a very large, loud machine with this strap that goes over your face and sucks into your nose. It's really weird looking, and then that attaches to a length of thick plastic tubing that then goes into a machine, typically a big black box, that forces you to breathe and is powered by typically a long black cable which plugs into any wall within several feet. Sleep apnea is really crucial for some people because at certain points you can stop breathing for seconds or minutes on end, which obvious problems when you stop breathing, you can die. And in spite of that, I still make fun of my dad, but that's a side point. But taking my dad out of the story, Epstein is sitting in a room with his sleep apnea machine. This sleep apnea machine was not regulated for prisons at all. You can see it in the picture. It has several feet of this thick plastic tubing and then several feet of black cable plugging into the wall. So you'd actually have to be an idiot not to use that instead. If there's one thing Epstein is not, he's most certainly not an idiot. It makes you wonder then why the media never told you that little bit of information, did it? Because all you had to do was look at a photo. Reason number 9. Now, at this juncture, I am sure that in no way you believe Epstein took his own life. If you do, I would like to sell you some knives, and if you get 3 of your friends to join, I'll make you rich. So what else we can agree on is that I haven't quite proven that Epstein isn't dead. Fair, so let's move our attention to the photos of his body after it's taken away from the prison. The first thing you may notice is that none of these autopsy photos look like Epstein. And it's convenient that there are no photos that are direct on angles of his face, which means we can't run any facial recognition software or clearly discern if it's him or not. That being said, we can disprove this being Epstein's body well before the autopsy photos. There is a photo that reveals more to us than any direct-on shot of his face could, and it's this skeezy little angle we get of Epstein's ear, or very clearly not Epstein's ear because they don't even remotely match one another. So unless Epstein got new ears while in prison, this is not his body, which leads us to wonder whose it is then. I've seen and read many theories, including a body double for who this could be, which is possible considering Epstein's countless millions of dollars he poured into his foray into human cloning, which, no joke, check out the Zorro Ranch video if you haven't seen that. My personal theory, though, is that this body looks a ton like the brother of Hillary Clinton, named Tony Rodham, who died just a handful of weeks prior to Epstein. And here's a photo of what he looks like. And no, I'm not lying to you, the man on screen is not Jeffrey Epstein. That's actually Hillary's brother, and you are not mistaken thinking that they could practically be twins. In fact, here's a side profile of him playing golf with Bill Clinton. The resemblance is uncanny. And the ears, too, based on what I've seen, seem to show a lot of similarities with that of the body on the gurney, but it's hard to tell because photos of Tony are not exactly bountiful. It is interesting, though, that Tony's nose most certainly has more of a hook shape like the body on the gurney, which Epstein's most certainly does not. However, that is not nearly the only thing about this photo that makes it so suspicious, not by a long shot. Indeed, the more compelling argument is about the photo itself, and more specifically, who took it. Let's pause and ask ourselves. No one at this point outside of a few prison staff knows Epstein's dead, supposedly, and no one has spoken about the matter outside of the prison system. So how then did a photographer manage to be at the exact right place at the exact right moment to get a photo of the now deceased, allegedly world's most high